Welcome to Ghouls Night Out with your hostesses, Brandy and Jody.
Hello, beautiful ghouls. Welcome. My name is Brandy. I'm here with my sister, Jody.
Hello.
Thank you so much for listening. So we were just having a conversation about voice crushes, which that probably sounds really weird. But let us know your voice crush. Mine is Aaron Paul. Love his voice.
Mine is the main singer of Disturbed. Love his voice. I don't know what his name is. I don't care. I just want him to talk to me and sing to me.
So let us know your voice crush. We want to hear it. And any other story, ghoulsnightoutpodcast@gmail.com. So Halloween is over. Just a bummer, but it's Halloween here every weekend, so... I came up with a few stories in the news this week. So you know how we're always talking about creepy stuff that we find in walls?
Yeah.
Well, thousands of human teeth were hidden inside a wall discovered by construction workers. This is in Georgia, and they posted a picture of it, which I'll try and remember to post on Facebook, but they were disposed of after being retrieved, although the local historical society did offer to take them. It's unclear how or why the teeth were placed in the wall, but they think that a dentist had lived there, and it was the first tenant of the building in the year 1900. He was a dentist named Dr. Clarence Whittington, who is speculated to be linked to the find. Also, there in 1911, there was another dentist that lived there who could have done the same thing.
They just throw the teeth in the wall?
Well, it might be like kind of like the razor thing, you know, where that was just kind of a thing that you did back then, because I don't know.
So weird.
It is weird. But the discovery is not the first of its kind. The building is the third in Georgia found to have teeth hidden inside the structure. So this is so weird. I wonder if it's just dentists or I don't know what other, I don't know. That's weird.
And then I can think of why would you...
And thousands of teeth? Ooh. Yeah, that's weird. But, so I found that. So did you hear about this story? Police identified sisters that were found dead and bound together in New York City's Hudson River. Authorities have identified two women whose bodies found bound together with duct tape were found floating on New York City's Hudson River earlier this week. They're sisters. That one was 16 and one was 22, and I'm probably going to butcher their names, but one was Tala Faria and Rotana Faria. They were from Fairfax, Virginia, according to New York City Police Department. It looked like they had bound themselves together and jumped into the river. But I'm going to try and kind of keep up with this story, because I think they're finding out new things, and it's crazy. Like maybe one of them wanted to jump and the other didn't. Something like that. But yeah, they were found lying on rocks near the river, fully clothed, both wearing black jackets with fur trim and black leggings. There were no obvious signs of trauma. And yeah, so, like I said, I know. And they said that, you know, new things are being found out. So I'll probably bring this up again maybe next week, something like that. But yeah, it's very sad and strange. So in Long Island, they're investigating human remains that were discovered on Wednesday in a house whose owner went missing almost 60 years ago, which I was kind of confused by this story, because let me just read it. The remains were found when the current homeowner, Michael Carroll, 57, was excavating his basement with his two sons in eastern Long Island. According to Suffolk County Police, the two sons discovered what appeared to be human remains, and they called 911. Police subsequently learned that that Carroll's parents, George, who went missing in 1961, and Dorothy Carroll, who died in the late 1990s, had owned this home since 1957. Michael and his three siblings lived in this house with their parents. So, does that sound to you like one of their kids went missing? It says Carroll's parents. So, Michael Carroll is the guy who found this human remains, okay? Michael had lived with his parents and three siblings in this house. George was missing in 1961. So does that sound like, or maybe his dad went missing and they found him in the house, in the basement to you? Carol's parents, George, who went missing in 1961, and Carol, who died in the late 1990s, had owned the home since 1957. Michael, which is the guy who found the human remains, and his 3 siblings lived in the house with their parents.
Yeah. Okay. So their dad was the one that went missing.
Right. But he
That's
was...
who they found?
I think so.
So
I mean,
what?
they found human remains. So, and...
Mom killed the dad and bury him in the basement?
I don't know.
Because how else would he get there?
Exactly. I mean, he wouldn't just like... He wasn't playing hide and seek. And like hid. No one ever found him.
Yeah, because if he died of natural causes...
He wouldn't be fucking buried in the
someone
basement.
would have found him down there.
Oh my God.
So either the mom or one of his brothers or sisters or whatever he's got, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what it sounds like to
Of course,
me.
if it was 60 years ago, they wouldn't have been old enough, so it had to be the mom.
Holy shit. She died in 1990s. In the 1990s. In the late 1990s. That would be interesting to find.
Yeah.
Find out your mom murdered your dad? That would suck. Okay. So, the Disgusting Food Museum opened in Sweden.
Oh. Disgusting food?
Yeah. So, museum's
Is it like
founder...
cheese?
Well, there's a few examples here, and yeah, I didn't read it. But, so what they... Okay, this is in Sweden. So what they consider disgusting from around the world is different everywhere. So they have fermented shark. They have root beer
What?
and Jello salad. Those things are considered disgusting in other places.
What's Jello salad?
Wouldn't it be?
Like, is it Jello with fruit in it? Is that what?
Oh, I was thinking more like, you know, when they mix Jello with like marshmallows and whipped cream and stuff like that, like a, you know.
Good. That's not disgusting.
So that Jello salad is, yeah, because okay, listen to this. They have, like I said, fermented shark.
That's
Ew, yeah. So that doesn't belong with root beer or
Root beer is good.
Jello salad. Yeah, they have fried tarantula and cooked guinea pig.
Aw. We used to have guinea pigs. That's rude.
If it says if you give a root beer to a Swede, they will spit it out and say it tastes like toothpaste. Ew.
Their toothpaste tastes like root beer? I want their toothpaste.
Oh, that's funny. So yeah, the Disgusting Food Museum opened, and those are the only.
That's the only examples they gave?
Yeah.
Well, that wasn't very good.
Well, I think they want you to go do it, so we're gonna have to go to Sweden.
I can't afford to go.
Oh, yeah, me neither.
I can't afford to go anywhere.
Oh, there's Bull Penis.
Oh.
Bull Penis is there.
Show?
Fear Factor?
Yes.
Oh my
It's
God.
so gross.
It was the oh my God. Yeah.
That's disgusting.
It was the best though. I always watched people like almost throw up
I know.
eating like ostrich egg or whatever, like they would have some
Oh, there was
nasty
some
shit.
nasty stuff
Yeah.
in there. Oh, it was bad.
It was the best though.
It was.
Loved watching that. They tried to bring it back.
Did they?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that long ago either. And they tried to bring it back, and I don't think it was
new anymore.
exactly, yeah,
It's old news.
exactly. But yeah, that was a really good show.
I love that show.
I did too. I watched it a lot actually. So, yeah, unfortunately, that was all I could find. My week was riddled with horrible shit again. So, I'm not even gonna bring up.
Just don't.
Yeah. So, yeah, those are my stories for the week.
All right. Well, I did a couple different things because each one wasn't that long.
Okay.
So, the first ones I have are
creepiest science experiments.
That's interesting.
Yes.
I'm excited for these.
Okay. So the first one is brain stimulation can make you sense a shadow person behind you.
Ooh, no.
The right gadgets can put a ghostly figure right in a room with you. And we're not talking about holograms desecrating the sanctity of the Coachella Music Festival. Scientists have actually figured out the process behind how we create ghosts in our own minds.
Oh my gosh.
And they can now replicate the process at will. Stimulation via electrodes and a robotic apparatus have been shown to make subjects believe they are surrounded by multiple spectral wraiths, ones that alternately lurk, mimic movements, and even touch their backs with invisible fingers.
Oh my gosh.
According to Professor Olaf Blank, our experiment induced the sensation of a foreign presence in the laboratory for the first time. It shows that it can arise under normal conditions simply through conflicting sensory motor signals. This confirms that it is caused by an altered perception of their own bodies in the brain. Another way to put it is they scared the shit out of some co-eds by hooking stuff up to their bodies until they thought the lab was haunted.
That is crazy creepy.
And by the way, I got these off of cracked.com.
Oh, okay.
Incredibly, the point of all this was not to come up with a fun and exciting new way to induce a heart attack. Rather, it was to identify the parts of the brain that cause us to see spirits and provide a rational explanation for many claims of the supernatural on record.
That reminds me a lot of Black Mirror.
Does it?
Oh, yeah. It's like messing with your brain to make you see things, or like, quote unquote, take a vacation. You know, stuff that they hook up to your head and changes your mind so that you think this certain thing.
That was, what was that movie? It had Arnold Schwarzenegger in it.
Total Recall.
Yeah. That's what it reminds me of.
Have you watched Black Mirror yet?
No, I haven't.
A lot of those are like that.
Are they?
Yeah, where they're like, yeah, you want to take a vacation? Yeah, we'll stick this thing in your head, and you think that you're at this place, and you're really right in this chair. It's the craziest thing.
It's really cool. I mean,
yeah,
you don't have to go anywhere.
It is cool, but I would never let anyone fuck with my brain.
No,
because anything could go wrong.
We don't know enough about our brains to go messing with them.
Exactly.
That's not good.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I totally agree. But that reminds me of Black Mirror a lot.
My next one is the Bloody Mary game really does make you see monsters.
What? What?
If you weren't among the adolescents who went to Beelzebub... What? Let me start that
Beelzebub in plural form.
Okay. If you weren't among the adolescents who went and Beelzebubbed a perfectly good slumber party by playing Bloody Mary, here's what it is. After the giggling has died down, a duly chosen participant stares into a mirror by candlelight while chanting the name Bloody Mary repeatedly. That's it. Well, except for the part of the ritual where a hideous Bloody Mary face appears in the reflection. But that's just a teenage urban legend, right? Alarmingly, researchers have discovered that this particular phenomena is real, but thankfully it's only as paranormal as security cam moth ghosts. Not that it wasn't creepy as fuck for the people participating in the experiments conducted by Dr. Giovanni Caputo, who calls this the strange face in the mirror illusion. It involved getting 50 subjects to stare at a mirror in a dimly lit room for 10 minutes until unspeakable abominations started to appear. According to the study, it usually took less than a minute for people to see stuff like messed up versions of their own face, dead relatives, portraits of their ancestors, and monsters.
What?
What's actually happening is something called neural adaptation, which means the neurons in our brains go a little stir-crazy when forced to look at the same thing for extended periods of time. As for Dr. Caputo, he apparently wasn't satisfied with bamboozling the unsuspecting into confronting fantastical and monstrous beings. So he also concocted an experiment wherein 20 healthy young individuals were told to stare at each other eyeball to eyeball in low light conditions. And while this scenario sounds like a completely different game teenagers play at sleepovers, Caputo once again discovered that, as the old saying goes, all roads lead to monsters.
What?
So once again, it's your brain
That is fucked up what your brain will do to
doing
you.
something.
Oh my gosh.
There's so much that we don't know about our brains.
That is, mind-boggling. I mean, quite literally.
Yeah.
That is crazy. And this all kind of reminds me of, like, when I think of death, like, I'm being afraid of death, I'm not afraid of death. I'm afraid of how I'm going to die. I just don't want to be in pain, which I think that's how a lot of people think.
Yeah.
But even if you're in some sort of traumatic thing, your body's gonna, or your brain, I should say, is going to protect you because it does some crazy shit.
Yeah.
It will, like, shut off your body.
It makes you wonder if everything that you think you see
Is real.
is really,
I know.
No, is really your brain doing something. Like, there's not, okay, what if there aren't really ghosts? What if it's your brain doing something?
Exactly. I mean, you don't know what's real. You don't know if your brain is making something up. You don't know if it's an outside force doing something. You have
no idea.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
That is the scariest shit.
Which would kind of make sense where there's some people that never experience anything.
Right.
And then there's other people that do.
Yeah. Well, that reminds me, like, I always, and I've said this before, alien abductions. Why would it happen to some people and not others, you know? And even seeing stuff that you can't explain. Why would someone, like, not see anything ever and other people see things their entire lives? I mean, I wonder if it's just their brains protecting them, or
How is that protecting someone, though?
what, not seeing anything?
Oh, I thought you meant the ones that do see.
No, I'm talking about if you don't see anything at all, are you actually seeing stuff, but your brain is just being like, no, that's not what you think it is. You know what I mean?
I don't know. But, ghosts and stuff isn't necessarily just seeing things. It's feeling things.
Yeah.
And
Well, and just like I was listening to one of our episodes not too long ago, and I had mentioned that sometimes I will feel feelings that I don't know why I'm feeling them. Mm-hmm. And you said that has never happened to you before.
no, not if no one is there. Now, I can feel feelings from other people.
Which I do that too. I mean, if someone... But I'm talking about, like, if you're sitting in a room and all of a sudden you get, like, a anxiety type of feel.
Yeah, no, I don't do that.
And why would that happen to me?
Yeah.
I mean, is it... Obviously, there's something in my brain that works differently than yours because that's never happened to you.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I know.
Holy shit.
All right, my next one is virtual reality trickery unlocks bizarre body illusions. Researchers at the Karolinska Institute in Stockholm wanted to raise the bar in the twin fields of screwing with people's minds and terrifying them with body horror. For that, they knew they needed some cutting-edge technology. Allegedly, to learn how our relationship to our own arms and legs affects our perception of the world around us, they've been plunging volunteers into various hellscapes using VR headsets and mannequins, all to trick them into thinking that their various appendages are Barbie and or Sasquatch-sized.
What?
They also tested this on themselves, with one of the scientists describing the process. It is a crazy and funny phenomenon to be a small Barbie doll being touched by a gigantic hand that is bigger than your own body.
Oh my gosh, what?
The end goal of these experiments is purportedly to better remotely control robots for things like deep-sea pipe repair and microsurgery, and to further study how our brains create a self-image. They've also been recreating out-of-body experiences with VR devices, a little deception, and just a dash of sadism. In both studies, participants wore goggles hooked up to cameras planted behind them so that participants had a view of their own backs. Then they were physically stimulated in ways that would enhance or reduce the feeling of their selves were located outside their bodies. To be certain and to get some harder data, he hooked up his participants to stress monitoring devices and then swung a hammer at the space where the illusory chest would have been. The readings showed signs of stress. Many participants visibly flinched.
Oh my gosh. I don't like these stories. That I don't like it when people mess with your brain. That is scary.
That's how they learn stuff.
I understand.
I mean, and I'm sure these people are volunteers. It's
I
not
understand.
like they're.
I get that, but that is so scary to me. That reminds me of, I think it was, it had to have been in the late 90s because I went to Disney World, I think, in Florida. Disney World?
I don't know.
One of them. But they had this alien ride, if you will. It wasn't a ride, but you just sat there and you were like in this laboratory and they had an alien in like a glass case for you to look at while the lights go down and the alien escapes. And they put like breath on the back of your neck.
Oh, yeah.
And scare the shit out of you.
Yeah.
It scared me so bad. I was shaking like a leaf. It was fun. you
Yeah.
know, But that's messing with people's heads,
Yeah,
and
it
I don't
is.
like it. That's so scary.
Well, you're going to love the next one then.
Oh no.
Inducing the unthinkable terror that is sleep paralysis.
No.
As anyone who's ever experienced the phenomenon can tell you, sleep paralysis is a walk in the park. A blood-curdling, slender man, Babadook, and John Wayne Gacy park. Basically, you wake up and are unable to move your limbs, then start having incredibly realistic hallucinations that range from intruder scenarios in which the person feels the presence of an evil, threatening individual, to so-called incubus hallucinations, where you think a creature is sitting on your chest trying to suffocate you,
Oh my gosh.
to out-of-body experiences, you're suddenly looking down at your own paralyzed self. Believe it or not, there are those who purposefully try to bring on these instances of hideous frozen helplessness in order to achieve more extraordinary dreaming. More rational people would rather eliminate sleep paralysis from their lives entirely, so researchers are hard at work studying the problem by waking up volunteers every hour on the hour until the waking nightmares kick in. After all, how can you treat the horror without inducing the horror? Let's just cite the notes from the study.
Oh my god.
She was suddenly attacked by paralysis. She felt much stronger fear than ever before. She tried to fight the paralysis by turning over in bed. However, despite an attempt at turning, her paralysis did not cease. You have to love the clinical, she felt much stronger fear than ever before phrasing. Another subject. He tried to move his hands, but could not. He heard strange sounds like a cassette tape winding quickly. Well, that's not so bad. Let's see how the final subject did. In the dream, she saw the god of thunder fly above her, and then her feet were paralyzed. She was frightened at her paralysis and woke up. She saw the strange face of a man on the wall of her bedroom. That's all on that story. Didn't really tell us much, did it?
No, but that's still, what the fuck?
Yeah.
That's creepy.
I would not
No.
want to do any of these.
No.
Messing with the air can instill fear in the fearless. That just reminded me of the story you told about where they puff the air on the back of your neck.
Yeah.
So clearly, scientists are working around the clock to find amazing new ways to terrorize unsuspecting people, which is perfectly fine despite also being the fixation of the scarecrow. But these scientists are confounded by a particular group of people who physically cannot feel fear to any real degree due to not having a functioning amygdala. The scientists, of course, took this as a challenge and set out to scare the bejesus out of them.
Oh my gosh, that would be the funnest job ever.
Justin Feinstein at the University of Iowa found that test subjects with the aforementioned brain condition couldn't care less about standard goosebump fuel, like snakes, spiders, panel van driving clowns, or even weird combination of all three at their front door. In fact, they couldn't even recognize the facial cues that indicated fear on the faces of others. But Dr. Feinstein eventually discovered that even the clinically fearless can indeed be spooked. You simply have to mess with the air they're breathing. Yes, just like the scarecrow. I don't know what scarecrow this person is talking about.
I don't know.
I don't know. The SM, AM, and BG brains show dark spots where normally heebie-jeebies producing parts should be. And what Feinstein found was that even these three individuals who had the misfortune of being cursed with one of the world's worst superpowers can be freaked out by nothing more than tricking their goddamn brains into thinking they're suffocating.
Oh my God.
Breathing high levels of CO2, tripping an alarm in the brain that screams, "You can't breathe," made these people feel fear and then panic. And if that doesn't seem that bad to you, keep in mind that these subjects did not previously know what fear felt like. Stop and think about that. Feinstein said the patients experienced significantly more fear and panic than the controls, presumably because the control group knew that what they were feeling.
Right.
For the brain damaged group, it was venturing into a realm of terror they previously did not even know existed.
Wow.
That is freaky.
That is freaky. Oh my gosh. I don't like these stories.
Well, I'm done, so. But yeah, that, I kind of understand why they would do experiments like that, but don't you think there's more important?
They do some of the dumbest shit in experiments that you
It's
can
just
think
like,
of.
I mean, there's more things that they could be working on that.
Trust me, I've thought about this a lot because they do some stupid shit that you're like, okay, I know there's more important things that money could have gone towards.
Oh, definitely.
Give it to me. I mean, I could use it big time.
Yeah.
So yeah, they've done some really, really dumb experiments that did not need to be done.
No.
And yeah.
I understand them trying to figure out how the brain works.
Sure.
But it seems like they could go about it a little bit different.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I agree. I know exactly what you're saying. I agree.
All right. So I just did a few, these are just freaky things that have happened to people.
Okay.
And I got these from crack.com too.
Okay.
I saw some kids running out of an alley screaming in fear. Curiosity got to me and I decided to take a look. I saw a woman standing in the middle of a barely lit alley with her head twitching nonstop, but her but her body is perfectly still.
No.
Yes.
No.
That is so creepy. Why do we always see these stories?
I don't like it.
Her head twitching nonstop
No.
and her body is perfectly still.
That is not real. That is from a movie. No.
We keep hearing it over and over and over.
No, I can't deal with that. That's too scary.
My great-grandmother suffered a heart attack on September 17th, but her doctors revived her. The next year, she was found dead in her home from a heart attack on September 17th. Apparently, when the Reaper sets a date, it is non-negotiable.
Weird.
Yeah.
Ooh.
One morning, we went swimming at the beach, which was pleasantly empty. When we were walking back at noon, two people appeared out of nowhere dressed in hazmat suits.
What?
We asked around, but nobody knew anything about it. We did not stop showering that day.
Oh my gosh.
That would be awful.
Yeah, that would be like the last thing you wanted to see at the beach.
Yeah. I once wrote something about American Express on a piece of paper. Later, I went on Facebook and saw ads for American Express. I had never searched for it.
Oh no.
It definitely had me reaching for the tinfoil.
Oh my
I've heard of
gosh.
stories like that, though.
What?
Where people will be just like, they'll be talking, And then the next thing, they get on their phone and start searching or whatever, and whatever they were talking about in the room
No.
would be on their thing.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I actually had a boss one time that me and my coworkers were convinced he had bugs in our offices because we would be talking about something and then like the next meeting he would bring it up.
Really?
Yeah. He was fucking crazy too, so it wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, that sounds like he probably did.
Probably.
He could get arrested for that.
He was fucking nuts. I'm so glad I don't work there anymore. Oh my God. Yeah, that whole experience was just like insane.
Yeah. When I was a baby, my abusive next door neighbor was shot to death by his own son. 17 years later, I was home alone one day and heard a male voice whisper, "He killed me," right behind me. I ran outside, looked up, and saw a giant pale face staring at me through an upstairs window. I fled to a friend's house.
no.
I could barely sleep for weeks after.
Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah. I was once riding my bike home at night. Okay, stupid.
Yeah.
When I decided to take a shortcut through the woods. Even more stupid.
Stay out of the woods.
As soon as I left the sidewalk, my headlights turned off. And so did the streetlights behind me.
No.
Got a fancy bike that's got headlights on it.
Yeah.
I never had a bike with headlights on it. Of course, I don't go riding in the woods either, so.
Or in the dark. Yeah.
All right. While exploring an abandoned house in Tennessee, my friend and I saw an old doll in a rocker.
Oh no.
As we moved to the next room, I heard someone whisper, "Mama."
Ah.
My friend grabbed my arm, and I could tell she heard it too. We had to go past the doll again to get out. As we quickly ran for the door, I noticed that the doll had fallen from the chair. We did not stop to investigate.
Oh my gosh, that's creepy. Ew.
Around midnight at a train station, a man in a hat was walking very strangely. He turned to me and smiled, like an alien who had learned to smile by watching cartoons.
Ew.
Nothing to see here, fellow human.
Oh, that's creepy.
When I was home alone one summer morning in 1987, when I was 16 years old, I received a phone call from someone who sounded like my grandfather, John Frank, saying, "This is John Frank," over and over with extreme difficulty. He had had a stroke when I was younger. Someone who sounded like my grandmother was talking in the background. Problem is, my grandfather passed away in 1979 and my grandmother in 1984.
Oh,
I just got chills.
oh my God. That is creepy. Phone calls, man?
Yeah, I know.
I don't like it.
That was all I got.
Oh my gosh. Okay. That was great. I did this week like crazy stories of soul survivors.
Okay.
And these should be fairly short. I did not read these. So
You never read anything.
that's not true.
You say it every day.
No, I don't.
Every podcast
No,
we do.
I
You
used
say.
to. I used to.
Okay.
I went a long time reading them. Now this week I did not.
Okay.
In June of 2014, a small plane crashed on a routine trip across the Congo. The pilot, co-pilot, and 17 passengers all died, leaving only one survivor to tell the unbelievable story. Apparently, a fellow passenger had smuggled a live crocodile onto the flight in his luggage. What the fuck? That's so horrible. Who does that? Oh my God, it killed... Okay. When the crocodile escaped, the loose reptile caused panic. Crew and passengers stampeded to the front of the airplane, dangerously shifting the plane's weight, throwing it off balance, leading to the fatal crash.
Oh my gosh.
So this douchebag brings a live crocodile and it kills 17 people. Oh my gosh. I wonder who the one person was that survived
I was
it.
going to say, hopefully it's not the one that brought the damn crocodile on a plane.
Seriously, that would be not cool. Okay, in 2011, Hattie Stretz was waiting to get her nails done at the Salon Meritage in Seal Beach, California, when the building got lit up. According to ABC News, Scott Deckery decided to kill his ex-wife, Michelle Foreigner, because of their aggressive child custody battle, and attacked the salon she was at. After Deckery murdered Foreigner, he continued firing and gunned down 8 more people in under 2 minutes. 5 years after the attack, Stretz gave her first interview. She said, "The only noise that I can remember from that day is pop, 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 pop." Even though Stretz survived, that doesn't mean she didn't take a hit. "I had this searing pain in my heart and looked down at my arm, and it was just hanging in shreds." Then, when she was shot, the bullet entered her arm and went through her left breast. Ugh, that's awful. So just getting your fucking nails done.
What is wrong with people?
They're insane.
You know what? If you're not, if someone wants a divorce, just get a fucking divorce. Why do people have to shoot people or...
I know. I mean, I know. There has to be some sort of mental illness going on if someone is willing to take someone's life. Like I've said, before, if you're willing to take your own life, it's got to be mental illness. There's no other explanation because that is not a normal reaction, No. Normal, and I don't want to say normal people because that's not a thing, but you know what I mean, like, the rational reaction is to go on with your fucking life. Yeah. You get the divorce and you suffer for a minute and bye. Yeah. I mean, it sucks, but you get through it just like high school. I mean, come on. It gets better. I promise. Yeah, people are fucking nuts. Like I told you, I've been listening to 911 calls all week because I've been bored at work and oh my God, I've been depressed all week. Okay, so I'm going to butcher a lot of shit in this next one. In the 1970s, Inez Ramu lived through the Brazilian military House of Death, a torture prison in Petrópolis near Rio de Janeiro. According to retired Lieutenant Colonel Pablo Malhais, the Casa de Morte was referred to as a convenience center to pressure prisoners into becoming informants. The main method used to convince prisoners was torture, but in a few cases, prisoners were offered money to drop a dime on their friends and family. Malhais noted that Ramu's release from prison... What's up? I'm just going to start this sentence over. Okay. Malhais noted that Ramu's release from prison was an accident and that she had tricked her captors into believing that she had accepted their programming. Of course, this came after the military accepted to make her throw herself under a car and prove that she was loyal to their cause. According to BBC, more than 400 people were murdered or disappeared in Brazil between 1964 and 1985.
Jeez.
Insane. Okay, next one. In Atara, Washington, which I'm sure I did not pronounce that right, the only survivor of the Los Angeles serial killer Lonnie David Franklin Jr., a.k.a. the Grim Sleeper, lived through the killer's brutal attack when he shot her in the chest as she rode in the passenger seat of his Pinto. Almost 3 decades after the attack, Washington took the stand in Franklin's trial and explained how, after shooting her, he forced himself on her while taking photos of her. When she tried to escape after the attack, he got tired of fighting with her and pushed Washington out of the car. On the stand, Washington claimed that she lost her driver's license in Franklin's car, and a year later, a man that she believes was her attacker approached her in front of her home to see if she recognized him. Oh my God. That's fucking nuts. Man, good for her for fighting. That's like the only thing that saved her. Yeah. He got tired of fighting with her. Mm-hmm. Damn. Okay, so next one. In Northern Ireland in the 1970s was a scene of a series of tit-for-tat murders between Protestants and Catholics that saw multiple groups of people being dragged from their homes, pubs, and vehicles to be shot at point-blank range. The most gruesome of these crimes was the King Mill Massacre, a response to the murder of 6 Catholics the night before. On January 5th, 1976, IRA gunmen stopped a van carrying 11 Protestant workmen, lined them up outside, and shot the men, unloaded 136 rounds in less than a minute.
Jeez.
The only survivor of the massacre, Alan Black, had taken to a nearby hospital where he was brought back from the brink of death despite his 18 bullet wounds. That is
Dang.
fucked up.
What is wrong with people?
Seriously! What is wrong with people? It's horrible. It's just absolute madness. All right, next one. In 2006, one of the most brutal crimes imaginable happened in Karlaji, India, when 4 members of the something family belonging to the Dalit caste, an incredibly oppressed group of people known as the Untouchables, were murdered by members of the Kunbai, or working class caste. But this wasn't a simple murder. In this case, the family members were dragged from their homes, paraded around the village naked, and sexually assaulted before being hacked to death. The only survivor of the attack spent 2 years following the attack attempting to bring his family's murderers to justice. When 8 members of the group who destroyed his life went on trial, he heavily advocated for the death penalty. He passed away in 2017 from a heart attack in a hospital. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. But that is so horrible. It's just horrible. Next one on December 14th, 2016, Eliana Vasquez, a high school senior in Bismarck, North Dakota, woke up covered in rubble. She assumed it was a dream. Vasquez was the only survivor of a freak accident that blew up her house, killing her mother and stepfather. According to Morton County Sheriff's Department, the explosion was an accident, but the cause of the destruction remains a mystery. If something can be considered lucky in a situation like this, local authorities are considering it lucky that the house had only exploded and didn't catch on fire. So her house fucking blew up and she survived it somehow. I mean, if it's not your time to go, it's not your time to go, obviously.
So it didn't even wake her up?
I don't know. Yeah, she said she assumed it was a dream. She was the only survivor and woke up under rubble. So, like I said, when you are in a situation where your brain is like, yeah, we don't want to remember this. Yeah, your brain's going to do shit that you're not going to remember and you're not going to know what's going on.
Yeah.
Okay, so the last one. 26-year-old Rebecca Cutler and her 3 children were the victims of a horrific assault at a Ramada Inn in Staten Island, New York, carried out by none other than Cutler's boyfriend, Michael "Da Kid" Sykes. At around 10 a.m. in early February of 2016, Sykes accused Cutler of maintaining a relationship with one of her children's fathers and butchered Cutler and her 2 daughters, Ziana Cutler, 1, and Malia Sykes, 4 months. Oh, so she was 1 year. Ziana Cutler was 1 year old, and Malia Sykes was 4 months old, as well as stabbing her 2-year-old Miracle 11 times. After finishing his rampage, Sykes called his mother and confessed to the crime before ditching the knife and went on the lam before finally being caught by New York area police. Miracle pulled through, and 1 year later, she paid a visit to the officers at 121st Precinct that helped save her life. Wow, so her entire family was butchered and she happened to survive. So those were my depressing stories.
That was very depressing.
I'm sorry, I told you I was depressed this week, so that's the angle that I went.
It's a good thing we have the witty wrap-up.
Yay, witty wrap-up!
Driving through Southern California, I stopped at a roadside stand that sold fruit, vegetables, and crafts. As I went to pay, I noticed the young woman behind the counter was painting a sign. "Why the new sign?" I asked. "My boyfriend didn't approve of the old one," she said. When I glanced at what hung above the counter, I understood. It declared, "Local honey dates nuts." Doesn't really say much about her, does it?
No. No. Aw.
I met my husband while I was working in a science library. He came in every week to read the latest journals and eventually decided to take out the librarian instead of the books. After a year and a half of dating, he showed up at the library and started rummaging through my desk. I asked him what he was looking for, but he didn't answer. Finally, he unearthed one of the rubber stamps I used to identify reference books. Since I couldn't find the right engagement ring, he said, "This will have to do." And he firmly stamped my hand. Across my knuckles in capital letters, it read, "Not for circulation."
That's very clever. I like it.
My boyfriend and I met online, and we'd been dating for over a year. I introduced Hans to my uncle, who was fascinated by the fact that we met over the internet. He asked Hans what kind of line he had used to pick me up. Ever the geek, Hans naively replied, "I just used a regular 56K modem."
The guy was probably like, what? What is that?
The lingerie store where my aunt works was crowded with shoppers selecting Valentine's Day gifts for their wives. A young businessman came to the register with the lacy black negligee. My aunt noticed that the next customer, an elderly farmer, was holding a long flannel nightgown and kept glancing at the younger man's sexier choice. When it was his turn, the farmer placed the nightgown on the counter. "Would you have anything in black flannel?" he asked. My husband, a certified public accountant, works 15-hour days for the first few months of the year. In spite of his hectic schedule, he took time out to order me flowers for Valentine's Day. While pondering what sweet endearment to write on the card, he obviously began thinking of the many hours of work still ahead of him. His note read, "Roses are red, violets are blue. If I weren't thinking of you, I'd probably be through." My friend Mark and I work in a lawnmower parts warehouse. Somehow Mark got the idea that his wife did not want a card on Valentine's Day. But when he spoke to her on the phone, he discovered she was expecting one. Not having time to buy a card on his way home, Mark was in a quandary. Then he looked at the lawnmower trade magazines scattered around the office and got an idea. Using scissors and glue, he created a card with pictures of mowers, next to which he wrote, "I lawn for you, mower and mower each day." Mark's wife loved it. The card immediately graced their refrigerator door.
Oh, it's like a kid at his craft.
Oh, that's cute.
That is very sweet.
About a year had passed since my amicable divorce, and I decided it was time to start dating again. Unsure how to begin, I thought I'd scan the personals column of my local newspaper. I came across 3 men who seemed like they'd be promising candidates. A couple of days later, I was checking my answering machine and discovered a message from my ex-husband. "I was over visiting the kids yesterday," he said. "While I was there, I happened to notice you'd circled some ads in the paper. Don't bother calling the guy in the second column. I can tell you right now it won't work out. That guy is me."
Oh, that's depressing.
Now you're down to 2. That must have been a long time ago. Who looks in the newspaper?
Seriously, nobody. They don't put personal ads in the newspaper anymore, do they?
I have no idea.
I think they might in maybe like local newspapers. Like I think ours in Indianapolis is Nuvo.
Oh, yeah.
This was like at least 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But I know they still did it 10 years ago.
Huh.
They used to put personal ads in there. But again, that was like 2008.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't even remember if the internet was like a giant thing back then, because now it's all
they
internet.
might as well not even bother now.
Yeah, it's all internet.
My
based.
hairstylist is getting married in May, and she met her man on a dating website.
I think that's how you do it now.
It was the first guy she went out with.
What?
And then, a guy I used to work with, he went on a dating website.
Yeah.
And he went out with this girl, and
Like immediately?
yeah,
What the fuck?
it's like, are you gonna like?
People are weird
I
now.
guess
Everything's so
I'm-
different now.
I know.
I couldn't even imagine meeting someone off the internet.
I can't.
There's no way. I wouldn't feel comfortable. I don't. I mean, I'm not in a situation where that's a thing for me.
Well,
so maybe,
I am, but I would not.
I just can't. I'm too old school. I can't do that.
My high school English teacher was well known for being fair but a hard grader. One day I received a B- on a theme paper. In hopes of bettering my grade and in the spirit of Valentine's season, I sent her an extravagant heart-shaped box of chocolates with the pre-printed inscription, "Be mine." The following day, I received in return a Valentine from the teacher. It read, "Thank you, but it's still B-." Every Valentine's Day, our campus newspaper has a section for student messages. Last year, my roommate surprised his girlfriend with roses and dinner at a fancy restaurant. When they returned from their date, she leafed through the paper to see if he had written a note to her. Near the bottom of one page, she found, "Bonnie, what are you looking here for? Aren't dinner and flowers enough? Love, Scott." That's another newspaper thing.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a thing anymore, I don't think.
I don't think so. During World War II, my parents had planned a romantic Valentine's Day wedding. Suddenly, my father, then stationed at Camp Edwards in Massachusetts, received orders to prepare to ship out, and all leaves were canceled. Being a young man in love, he went AWOL. He and my mother were married 4 days earlier than originally planned, and he returned to base to an angry sergeant. After hearing the explanation, the sergeant understandably replied, okay. Then as an afterthought, "But don't let it happen again."
My father-in-law is an ex-Marine, and him and my mother-in-law started dating when he was still in the Marines, and not too long ago, they showed me this form that she had to fill out in order to date him. And it was insane. I mean, it was probably like the 70s, I would think, that he was there. Maybe the 60s. But yeah, I mean, they had to know everything about her before they would allow him to go on a date with her. Yeah. And she had to fill out this form. It was like 2 pages long.
Dang.
They had to know everything about her. It was insane.
That's funny. That reminds me, where I work is huge.
Right.
I mean, I think it's like 1.6 million square feet.
Damn.
I mean, it's a huge building.
Right.
Plus, they're building another building that's about the same size.
Oh, wow.
To just put the warehouse. So they're moving everything out of our building now into this new building that they're building. Mm-hmm. But there's so many people that work there. So whenever 2 people that work there decide that they're going to start dating, they have to fill out paperwork with
crazy.
HR.
Oh my gosh.
It's the craziest. And there's so many people that are married there now that met there and started dating or whatever and then got married.
Oh my gosh.
It's crazy.
I would like to know what they have to fill out.
I don't know. I haven't seen what it is or
That's
anything.
Crazy.
But yeah, you have to fill out this paperwork to start dating someone that you work with.
Gosh.
It's weird.
Okay. So was that all?
That was all I had. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you guys so much again for listening. We really, really appreciate it. Like our Facebook page, look us up. We post every day or almost every day. It's usually funny or creepy stuff, so look it up. We also would love to hear your stories. It doesn't matter what it is. If you think it's interesting, we want to hear about it. And I'm sure everyone that's listening wants to hear about it. So email us at ghoulsnightoutpodcast@gmail.com. And we'll talk to you next week.
Later.
Bye.